The system that we now tend to think of as our environment for performance is, of course, a combination of performance, performer, agent, and software. And the software controls or establishes parameters for behaviors that can happen in terms of the manipulation or placement of media, light, sound, video. And in this system, interaction or participation has to happen. And I'll give an example of how we started to approach it a few years ago. We had not really thought in systemic terms up to that point. We were just exploring media possibilities. And for example, in the beginning, we looked into the question of what is a sensor and how does the body wearing a sensor sense the environment and send signals to a receiver. So we were perhaps at an early point still thinking of sender and receiver and not kind of thinking of the entire environment as a sort of system. But in 2006, I show the catalog that we published afterwards. We developed a laboratory dedicated to the notion of game system, Spielsysteme, and we worked with one performer only in front of a projected virtual world where all the game scenes were actually created through our film and video shoots. And the performer was wearing 12 sensors on her body, almost you could say from the top of the head to her hips, shoulders, arms and legs. And through her movement she could control the motion in the virtual game world, which was a filmic game world. And that filmic game world was also to some extent interrupted and interfered with through incoming transmissions of two webcams. And since this was a European project, we had one webcam stationed with partners in Holland and one webcam with partners in Bulgaria. So we were mixing and fusing the real webcam footage from two real locations with a virtual location. And that allowed us to think very intensively about what is a virtual world, what is a mixed reality, how can the actor or the agent who is controlling the world or entering into it as a navigator, find her way into it and out of it. So now, a few years later, we are still, I think, raising these questions about the participation with the virtual or the participation with a synthetic environment. And we've done some very interesting tests this week that also allow us to think about the direct interaction between the sonic, in other words, electronic music that is generated either live or through sampled remixes, and image, where the sound itself influences the image or where the image could influence the sound. And then one of the artists who was here showed an installation where the participant user, the user who comes as an audience member to explore the system, learns how the system reacts and then plays the system. So in this sense, we are influenced by game theory, I think, to a certain extent, and also seeing the actant, the agent, as someone who navigates in virtual environments. That's one level of our understanding of systems. The other level is, since we had several choreographers and dancers here this year, to think about the human body and how it understands and responds to a computational environment that has a certain intelligence, and also how the performer can wear small micro circuits or integrated circuits that generate sound on the body. And Michel Danjou and John Richards, along with some other members of the team, Susanna Marcelino, are now working on a performance where the artist that is in the physical space will be wearing electronic components on her arms, as well as she will activate another layer of electronics that are attached to the floor, so that in a three-dimensional real space the performer can, in a sense, generate data. And that's something we are very excited about. The other group that we had with us of dancers from Luxembourg did something very beautiful last night. They did a site-specific film piece involving location shots that were done here in the mine, being projected onto a wall, but the dancers themselves became live actors going into and out of the film and using both the inside and the outside of the space as a playing area. And this kind of merger of inside-outside I thought was quite fascinating. And again, shows you how when you work in a specific environment, the practitioners can draw on the inspiration that comes from the architecture.